guys, welcome to Pill Reaction. In this episode, we are going to discuss about the most common side effects of the majority of drugs are the gastrointestinal issues such as nausea and vomiting. Because most of the drugs go through the digestive system for absorption, isn't it? Yes. However, human body is one of the most fascinating living forms on earth. I'll be telling you why. Yes, except the food we consume, all other chemical substances like drugs, cytotoxic agents, heavy metals, and pollutants are considered as xenobiotics. That is, the foreign substances that doesn't belong to our body. Sometimes spoiled food, uncooked meat contains germs. When they get into our system, these release toxins termed as food poisoning. When our body senses these foreign substances such as drugs, chemicals, or toxins, our system works to recognize and get rid of them either by vomiting or diarrhea. In pharmacology, no matter how many side effects we memorize, but we'll end up in nausea and vomiting, isn't it? So, in this episode, let's learn about the exact mechanism of how vomiting reflex takes place when a noxious substance enters our body. So, let's get right into it. Now, moving on to the pathophysiology of vomiting, also known as emesis. In order to understand the vomiting reflex, we need to talk about the brain and the brainstem. In the areas of brainstem called medulla oblongata, where we have the vomiting center, which contains the muscarinic receptors or the acetylcholine receptors. When these are stimulated within the vomiting center, this will trigger vomiting reflex. Close to the vomiting center, near the medulla of the brainstem, we have another area called chemoreceptor trigger zone or CTZ for short. As the name suggests, CTZ gets triggered by the chemicals and contains few types of receptors such as 5-HT receptors and the dopamine receptors. When CTZ is stimulated, it will then stimulate the muscarinic receptors of the vomiting center. This helps in causing vomiting reflex. Though CTZ is located in medulla like vomiting center, CTZ lacks blood-brain barrier, BBB for short. The lack of blood-brain barrier at the chemoreceptor trigger zone allows it to be directly stimulated by drugs, chemicals, and toxic substances. Next, let us recap the anatomy of stomach. Here we have esophagus, which will travel down through the diaphragm, which is the muscular structure. The esophagus will then join onto the stomach and stomach joins into the small intestine. If we were to zoom into the stomach, we can see they form deep pits and glands. And these are lined by different types of cells, one of which are called enterochromaffin cells, ECL for short. Enterochromaffin cells release serotonin or 5-hydroxytryptamine in the response to drugs, chemicals, or cytotoxic agents. The released 5-hydroxytryptamine or serotonin is thought to stimulate 5-HT3 receptors on sensory nerve fibers around the area. This sensory nerve fibers is actually the vagal nerve. This will bring the information to the vomiting center and results in vomiting reflex. And some of the released serotonin will also reach systemic circulation and bind to the serotonin or 5-hydroxytryptamine receptors on CTZ as it lacks blood-brain barrier, which in turn triggers vomiting center. In summary, the main cause of vomiting is essentially to stimulate the vomiting center from which the vomiting reflex or emetic reflex is initiated. Next, how does vomiting affect your body? Now, we know that when a vomit is looming, a signal is sent to an areas of brain called chemoreceptor trigger zone, and chemoreceptor trigger zone receives the information and then communicates to the other areas of the body to start the domino effect of vomiting. Before you vomit, you may feel nauseous, become pale, and have cold sweats, and an increased heart rate. These are some of the autonomic changes which takes place in our body. Your mouth will also produce extra saliva. Why? Have you experienced it? Yes, just to protect your teeth from the incoming acid. Now, let us focus on what the vomiting reflex is and actually what happens during the process. Yes, vomiting reflex causes the relaxation of lower esophageal sphincter, and there is the continuous contraction of the diaphragm and the abdominal muscles. Which makes sense, right? Because we need food to come up towards the mouth when we vomit. Also, vomiting reflex causes the epiglottis to close because we don't want food to travel down the lungs. Right? Yes. Therefore, vomiting is the body's natural reaction of protecting you from harmful substances by causing it to expel out. For more such pill infotainment videos, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.